Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Yvonne Villarreal and I cover television with the Los Angeles Times. And we're here today with Mandy Moore, who plays Rebecca Pearson on This Is Us. And she's a first-time Emmy nominee, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How was that morning?
Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
Were you guys in production?
We were in production. We've been in production for like a week. I wasn't working that day, so I was off exercising, just trying to like not think about anything. Because we've been on the show now for 3 seasons and 54 episodes. We're not the new kids on the block.
Right.
I am quite biased, and I think our show is remarkable. The writing is so elevated. Our performances, the cast is just the next level. So I've had my fingers crossed for a lot of my castmates and for the show in general. But I mean it sincerely, like I was not thinking about myself at all. I did not think that was a remote possibility. So I purposely was like, I'm just gonna go and zone out, and then I'll check my messages afterwards. So I got out of class, I got to my car, and I saw that I had like 70 text messages, and I thought, oh, like immediately my heart dropped, and I thought, oh no, maybe the show wasn't recognized and people are reaching out kindly to, you know, say they were sorry or what a bummer it is. And I looked, and the first message I saw was from my husband, and it said, "You did it," with like 10 exclamation points, and I thought, I did what? Like, what is, and I called him and I was like, can you explain your text message? What does that mean? He's like, you did it, you got nominated. And I was like, wait, the show got nominated? He's like, no, you did. And I couldn't comprehend that. And then the phone calls kept rolling, and it was very,
I was gonna say, is that a day where you have to put the phone on like silent because it's just nonstop? Or do you try to answer everybody?
You try to answer everybody. Yeah. I don't know, I've never been in this position before. I was overwhelmed and excited and in shock and complete disbelief. So I just kept writing people back and answering calls and sending text messages and and then doing interviews. Like it was truly bizarre. I was like, okay, so this is what this is like. Did
you have a celebration type moment? Like, did you have toast or anything?
That night was my mother-in-law's birthday, so we went out to dinner for her birthday and we had a little toast there. But nice. You know, I also was like, it's your birthday, Mom.
I won't take the time.
I can't, exactly.
Yeah. So you are her. We learned this season.
I am her.
You are her. So how was that finally? I mean, to have a mystery centered around you.
Yeah.
How was that navigating?
I think there was fundamentally a lot less pressure on me than there was on, say, Milo, having to keep the secret of how Jack died, or we all did, but he really felt the pressure, I feel like. I'm glad that it wasn't a secret or a plot reveal that was dragged out for season after season. But having said that, I think with a reveal like that, in typical This Is Us fashion, it just sort of continues to leave the door open with more questions in a different direction than you may have been considering. So I love that, you know, we may have discovered Rebecca at this juncture of her life, but where is Kate? Why is Nikki at the bedside? Where's
all
Miguel?
These questions at the table read, or when you got the script?
We never have table reads. I think the last table read we had was for the first season in like episode 4 or something, until last year when we had the waiting room episode, because it sort of read like a play.
Yeah.
We kind of made time for that. But beyond that, we don't do table reads. So, you know, we have carte blanche to ask Dan and the writers like any question. So I have all the answers.
Okay.
You know, to my satisfaction at this point for some of those questions. But also, I think as cast members, we know the broad strokes of what happens to our characters and other characters, but we sort of have to wait episode by episode to get like the tiny morsels of information. Like the first episode of season 4, which we just finished shooting, again, I know the broad strokes of big sort of life movements and big set pieces, as it were, for characters on the show. But even I was surprised. I was like, oh, that reveal is coming here? That's interesting, yeah.
Well, and for the season 3 finale, the final scene had been redacted, right?
Yes.
So at one point, do you get it? Like just right before shooting?
The cast members that are involved with the redacted scenes get the scenes sort of sent to them. Actually, there's like a whole system where they're hand delivered. Like we're in a Marvel movie or something. I'm like, you guys have to turn this down a couple notches. But it's like our first episode this year, so much of it was redacted as well. And so it's like some sweet PA from work like comes and hand delivers it and you like sign something and it's a whole,
Do you have to give it back?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I think on set for some of these scenes, you do have to sign out. Like when we were shooting all of the fire stuff, like out in the middle of Santa Clarita a couple years ago, in order for crew members to get sides, they had to sign a waiver. They had to sign them out. So it's like they knew who everyone was that had sides. Yeah.
So when there's these secrets or the info that you have from the questions that you asked Dan about where things are going or things you want to know, do you have a circle of people in your life that you will share this if they ask?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's hard to keep information in, and it's more of like the little details. Like I'm obsessed with Dan Fogelman, and I love when he gets really excited about something. Like he'll send us all out like a snippet of a scene that he loves, that he's just finished editing, or like a piece of music, or he just cut this like incredible trailer together and like sent it to all of us, and we were freaking out. But I love telling people about the little things that like Dan will tell me, just the little nuggets that like don't necessarily like turn the show in any direction. I love sharing that, like with my husband. I'm not like broadcasting it on social media or anything.
I'm like, I just wondered who gets the access and who doesn't.
Anyone that like in my family, I guess, they would ask, I would tell them. Not the big things. But honestly, they don't want to know either. The people in my life that watch the show sort of religiously don't want to know those answers.
So how was it to get to older Rebecca? I mean, we've seen you post on Instagram the process of aging up when it's present day Rebecca, but to go beyond that, how was that process for you?
We had one makeup test for it, and it was probably 6 months before we shot it.
Okay.
They did a lot of like tweaking, and I remember we were in the middle of shooting one of the episodes where Sterling's running for city council, and we got all dressed up, like finished the makeup. It took 6 hours. So we finished the makeup, had the wig on, put on like a nightgown. They put me in a hoodie and sunglasses and like an umbrella, and like drove me up to set where they were shooting, because we were shooting off the lot. And like made sure there was no paparazzi around. Not that there would have been, but it was like under the veil of night. I know. Yeah. We snuck into the building, and they had set up like a little camera test, and like broke away from shooting whatever scene they were working on. And Sterling came in, and I remember, of course, in like typical Sterling fashion, he like was this like enigma, like watching from the corner of the room, and then just like slowly came up to me and like put both of his hands on my face and just like stared at me. And it was great because someone captured like photos of it. I put it on social media, as you do.
Yeah.
But it was so beautiful because he was so moved, and then I was moved. But when we did it for real, it was the very last scene of the season that we shot. It was the only thing we were shooting that day. And it's, emotional. It's bittersweet because although we don't have any real clues as to, is this her final moments?
Right.
Like, where is she? You can obviously tell, like, there's some fragility there, a lot of fragility. And she's not speaking, and she maybe looks, a little out of it. And I remember walking on set, and a lot of the crew just sort of avoided eye contact with me because she is, I'm 35, and they aged me 50 years. So she's 85. It was truly a remarkable feat of hair and makeup and wizardry. But it is like it was heartbreaking.
Do you remember looking in the mirror, what you felt?
Yeah, because I think I know a little bit more than most people do. It's it's that bittersweet, like, this woman has really lived a life. So I think honoring someone when they've reached that point is pretty profound.
Has the show got changed or got you thinking about the process of aging and what scares you about it, but also, you know, we reach a certain age where we have like the wisdom and the clarity, and we're comfortable in our age, but then also thinking about the future, it can be scary. Like, do you think about any of it?
Getting older and sort of like ruminating on the future has never been something that scared me. Like, I really do embrace it and I look forward to it. And I think that's just a testament to getting older. I've enjoyed it. I would not, for any amount of money, go back to my 20s. I didn't know who I was. I was flailing around, and I love her. I love that younger iteration of Mandy, and she's what brought me to this place now. But if it's any reflection of where I'm continuing to go and where we're all continuing to go as we get older, like you said, the wisdom and clarity that comes with age, there's no substitute for that. So in that sense, it's made me reflect on just aging in the sense of having a family and what that means, and in terms of getting older and watching your children grow up and watching your grandchildren grow up, and what a privilege that must be. That still has me excited more than scared. I don't know. I just try to sort of focus on the glass half full side of things.
Do you look back at the younger Mandy and think to yourself, oh, I wish she wouldn't have been so scared, or I wish she would have said yes to this, or...
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not someone that has a ton of regrets by any means. I look back with fondness and affection for, you know, a young woman who is just trying her level best, as I am now. But yeah, I still wouldn't want to go back. I wouldn't. I'm happy where I am now. Happy where it's brought me.
With the different Rebeccas we see through her life stages, do you approach each one as a different person, a different character, or as the same? Like, because we see, like, season 3, we see her from like 16, 17 through like 80s, right?
16. I read that script. I was like, you guys, 16?
The people from 90210 did it.
Ugh. So there's a lot of, you know, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
I don't think of her as different people by any means. It's just like, it's the same collective person. She just has more information as she goes along. She has more life experience. She has more to sort of bring to the table. She has more baggage. She has grief. She has joy. She has children, grandchildren, losing a spouse, remarrying. Like, there's just, it's sort of like, yeah, just more information as you go along. I don't know. I think of it more energetically. Like, I think I've talked about this before. Like, as a young mom, I would think I did a lot of like physicality work and body work when we first were starting the series. And I thought about like her energy emanating from like directly from her heart and from her hands, because she's sort of in the trenches with the kids. And then as she gets older and kids are adults, and you know, she's sort of living her life more on her own terms and for herself. It's like I could see her energy emanating from like the top of her head. There's like a stoic, like survivor, a more grounded woman who like really walks with intent and purpose. Like, she has lived a life. She's seen, you know? So I don't know. So I guess in that sense, I tend to like view the different iterations and chapters of her life in that way.
Where did you find yourself pulling from in the sort of final stage of her life? Because, you know, like you said, the vibrancy isn't there.
Yeah.
So, like, did you find that you were pulling from a different place?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think everything was really like dialed down and dialed back. And you just sort of have to find yourself in the most zen sort of stillness and quiet. Yeah.
You submitted the graduates for your Emmy episode, right?
I did.
So talk about what we see in Rebecca in that episode. I mean, it's her kids are about to graduate high school. Their father's no longer here. She goes to a grief counseling group.
Yeah.
Talk about what interested you and what you explored in that episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging with a show like ours because there's 18 episodes to go back and think about. But I remember The Graduates being a standout for me in terms of just like reading the script and as an actor, like excited about two very different timelines, but very like formative timelines for Rebecca. Like you said, just as the kids are about to graduate, and you know, this is just handful of months after Jack passed away, juxtaposed with, you know, her daughter sort of graduating college belatedly and pregnant and in sort of like coming up to the final stages of her pregnancy, and just the pride that she has for, you know, Kevin is working on his sobriety, Randall's obviously, I think at that point he's been elected for city council, and Kate obviously like going back to school and finishing that. I thought it was important to show, like, you know, Rebecca at these two stages in her life, and the fact that, like, I have this delicious challenge pretty much, you know, or multiple times throughout the season to play this woman at these different ages, and getting to interact with two different sets of remarkable, you know, actors in the teens, and then obviously the adult version of the kids. But I also think seeing the sort of human side of a woman who's been trying her best to sort of hold it together for her kids, who's never considered herself the superhero parent, and here she is left, like, on her own, in a situation she never thought she'd find herself in. She has no choice but to, like, submit to the grief that she's been feeling and sort of trying to compartmentalize. I don't know, I felt like it was an example of where she needed to go in order to really, truly start to heal and move forward.
Well, and the show is renewed for 3 more seasons, right? What are you excited, or what are still some of the things you're interested in learning about Rebecca? Like, are there things that you're still like, I can't wait to see what this 3 seasons, I hope I finally learn the answer to this, or I want to know this about her?
I mean, I love all the early stuff with Jack and Rebecca, and that's sort of one of the timelines that we're starting in for season 4. Directly after Jack and Rebecca get back from their ill-fated California road trip back to Pittsburgh and meeting her family and seeing how that all sort of meshes together. I'm excited to see, like, what their early courtship was and how they ended up, like, getting engaged, and then their wedding, even though we saw a tiny bit of that in the first season. But I'm really excited about Miguel and Rebecca. I love John Huertas so much. He's like one of my favorite human beings. And the idea of getting to work with him more and explore, like, 2008, Rebecca and Miguel, and how they figured back into each other's lives after there was some sort of, I don't know, disconnection, is very exciting to me.
Well, and people are like, where was Miguel in that season finale? He wasn't at her bedside.
Where was he?
Where was he?
Where was he? And how is Nikki
Where
there?
was he?
How does Nikki factor back into the family, like, 15 years later? Yeah.
And we're going to see, like you said, we're going to see Rebecca's family more, and in particular her dad, right? Like, there's a lot of,
Yeah. I don't know to, like, how deep to the extent, but he's been cast, and he's wonderful, and the episode is great, and there's so much I can't wait for people to know about. The first season, or the first episode of season 4, really just completely changes the game of the show in such a cool way.
And Milo's directing this season,
He
right?
is. He's directing episode 5. I can't wait.
Is that something you hope to explore?
I do. Maybe next season, or maybe our final season. I'd like to get in the director's seat.
There's something I have to know about the hiking excursions, and because I follow them religiously on Instagram.
Oh, thanks, Yvonne.
So tell me how. I mean, I'd be terrified. So
really?
Yes.
Hiking is just,
I just feel like I'm
slowly
gonna,
walking
like,
uphill.
break my ankle or something.
No. I mean, we live in Southern California. We have some of the most incredible hiking here.
Yeah.
I just, I have the privilege of this show, which is the best job of my life, and we're lucky to work for 8 months out of the year. So for those 4 months that we have off, I really decided this year I wanted to, or each year, I'd like to have one big trip and sort of make the most of my time off. So last year I hiked Mount Kilimanjaro, and this year I did Everest Base Camp. And a spot of hiking in New Zealand to sort of warm up for that, as you do.
As you do.
But it's like my me time. It's a physical, mental challenge, but it's also like a time of reflection. It's time to, like, ask myself the hard questions. It's time to sort of plot next moves, what I want out of the year ahead, and all of those things. And it's like camaraderie. I've been able to do it with some friends. I'm obsessed. At literally like any bit of time off now, I'm like, okay, can I get Whitney in that weekend, or can I go do Mount Hood, or how long is it going to take me to do Rainier? Like I'm really, really into
You
that.
gotta get the whole cast to do it.
I know. I feel like I could get Sterling in.
Yeah.
I don't know who else would really be game for it. Maybe
They're
John
like-
Huertas. He's adventurous. I don't know. I'll have to take a poll and see
Have
who'd want to
take a poll.
come.
Well, and you're also getting back into the music, right?
Heck yeah.
Talk to me about that.
I mean, we are in the studio and gonna have new music shortly. Like, I'd say in the next couple weeks. Like the first little taste of music, and then hopefully with a full record out, early spring of next year. But it's so great to kind of get back to those roots because I miss it. I miss writing and singing and performing, and it fulfills like a different creative side of my brain that that this part of my job doesn't really get to touch, you know? So I'm very fortunate that I'm working with my husband and some good friends on it, and I'm really excited.
Well, we can't let you leave without just giving us like something concrete about season 4.
I haven't given you enough?
No.
Yvonne!
Like, what is going to be like cryptic enough that will make sense when it's the season premiere?
Cryptic enough I can give. I mean, the world expands. I'll put it that way. The world expands in a way that I don't think people are necessarily expecting. I wasn't. I was like, oh, wow. And it's beautiful. It's going to freak people out, I think.
Okay.
And there are maybe you know, I don't want to give too much away, but maybe there's like a couple new faces
Okay.
for the season, or maybe longer. I don't know. But it's really exciting, and I'm excited as a fan to like watch the episode, because I'm just a tiny little fraction of it. I don't care about my stuff. I want to see everybody else's stuff.
Milo says you give too much away. Do you
I
agree
do?
with that?
He says I do? What?
I saw that recently. I was like, I wonder what Mandy would think of this.
Well, maybe I do. I don't know. Maybe no one's had a talk with me. No one sat
Well,
me down.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I give too much away. What do I give away?
I don't know.
Oh, maybe because I talked like a year ago and saying that we had shot some of the finale. I thought Dan had said something. I never give
Well,
away.
that's the thing. It must be hard to keep track of what you can say and can't say.
Totally. And I feel like at this point, it's like we're well versed in like we're not going to give away anything too big. But like, you know, I don't think I gave anything away. Believe me, I could like really go off right now, and I'm not. I'm holding back. Okay, Milo?
Well, this being like we're gearing up for the Emmys, what's been like a fun Emmy story that you've had since the show has been on?
Like going to the Emmys?
Any run-ins in the bar or restroom? The restroom's always interesting. Like
The
things you
restrooms
hear
are
in there.
interesting. I remember the first year we went with the show, like 2 years ago. I was walking across the ballroom, and I like crossed paths with Donald Glover, who's
Yeah.
my crush,
Yeah.
my big celeb crush. And I had met him at like the Golden Globes, like Milo and I had presented him with his award, and he's lovely. But like he walked by me, and I was like, there's no way he knows who I am. And he was like, hi Mandy, how are you? And he like had like 2 Emmys, like one in each hand. He was like, how are you? I was like, not as good as
Not
you.
as good as you, yeah.
But it's like, you know, for being a fan of so many people, it's one of those awards where you're just constantly like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Like the next person is more exciting. It's such a fun evening, and even more fun to be able to be there as like a whole family, you know. All
There's
the
no
Pearsons.
host this year.
I think it's better that way.
Yeah?
Yeah. It just runs a little quicker.
And
I don't
there's
know.
probably less pressure for you as an audience person, like one of the attendees,
Yeah.
to have your face, because they always go for reaction shots.
Sure.
During the
Yeah.
So you're good.
I'm glad that that's not a factor. Yeah.
Well, thank you and congrats on your Emmy nomination.
Thanks, Yvonne. Thank
And
you.
for all you, if you want to see more of our Emmy chats, head over to latimes.com.